How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Body Bags from 1993, directed by John Carpenter and Tobe Hooper. I say "and" because this is actually one of the anthology films, you know, like Creepshow or Trilogy of Terror. This one has three different stories, three different segments, and the first two are John Carpenter's, and the last one is Tobe Hooper's. Fun fact, this was a made-for-TV movie, but it aired on Showtime, so it's still very much rated R. But according to IMDb's trivia, this was actually intended as a pilot to a body bag show, and granted how this is 1993, this would have probably been Showtime's show that would have competed with HBO's Tales from the Crypt. They're kind of similar, and you know, they're horror, but there's an element of humor, and there's a kind of a wacky host. So if you like Tales from the Crypt, I'd say probably give this a look at and see what's up. So in this movie, you have a connecting piece, you know, one that ties all the stories together, and that connecting piece is actually John Carpenter. He plays a mortician, and he doesn't like boring natural deaths. He likes death with interesting and weird stories behind it, and those types of death aren't usually just on the stretchers, they're usually in body bags, hence the title. So he's looking around his morgue and finding interesting stories in the body bags. So there's a connecting piece between the two. And yes, the horror host is played by the director. Now, with this movie, if you like director cameos, there are quite a few cameos. Later on in the segment that ties them together, Tobe Hooper, who directs the last one, also plays a morgue worker. But in addition to that, you get cameos from Wes Craven, Sam Raimi, Greg Nicotero, Debbie Harry, also known as Blondie, and Roger Corman. So if you like cameos, keep an eye out for that in this movie. The first segment is called The Gas Station, and you get the actress Alex Datcher, and she plays a temp worker, and she gets sent to work at this gas station during the night shift, and she gets her little booth that she's locked in, watching the outside world and all the little patrons that come. So it's really claustrophobic, but of course there's a killer on the loose. This is actually a John Carpenter slasher for this segment, and even though John Carpenter kicked off the modern slasher boom with Halloween, he wasn't super involved with the genre afterwards. He didn't make a million other slashers. So really, for this segment alone, it's worth checking out the movie because it's John Carpenter back doing another slasher, and it's 1993, so a bit of time has passed, 14 years or so since Halloween came out, but he's still got it, and you really, for this segment alone, if you're a Halloween fan, check this out. Also, as a fun Easter egg, this takes place in the outskirts of Haddonfield, and on the news you get to hear about the Michael Myers killings, so it's kind of funny to think that this story takes place while the events of probably Halloween 2 are going on, but just way far in the outskirts. The next segment is called Hair. You get Stacy Keach as a guy, and he's slowly going bald, and he's really worried and upset about that because he really likes his hair, but he finds this mysterious doctor who claims to be able to, in one treatment, give you the hair that you want, you know, the hair of your dreams. This segment is primarily played for comedy, and to be honest, it doesn't always work. there is also some cool special effects later on in this one. However, I do have to say this one's probably the weakest of the three. It might be something some people like, especially if you're big Stacy Keach fans, but I thought it was okay. The third segment is I. Now, this is Tobe Hooper's segment. Tobe Hooper, who did Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Poltergeist. This actually stars Mark Hamill as well. And Mark Hamill's this baseball player, and he, while going home to see his wife after a game, unfortunately gets in a car wreck and stabs his eye out. Now, Mark Hamill's a baseball player, and he really needs both eyes for coordination, and he's really sad that his career's going to be over. However, a doctor comes in and says, hey, I have a brand new experimental eye transplant, and if you want to be a volunteer, we can sign you up. And he, of course, doesn't want to end his career, so he agrees to have a dead guy's eye put into his face. And, of course, you know, he starts to get haunting visions, and he starts to question where the eye came from. This is one that the premise doesn't necessarily hold up as well, because since 1993, there's been a ton of advancements in transplant surgeries, but at the time it seemed, you know, really weird. However, it is probably the second best story. It's really good and interesting, and of course you get to follow Mark Hamill, which is great. This is somewhere between Star Wars, and I think he would just be starting out voice acting. And of course, towards the end, you do get a good scene with crazy Mark Hamill, which is, of course, really, really fun. But overall, I really enjoyed this segment, too. It was really good. So, Body Bags, I'd recommend if you're big into anthology horror. There is a fair bit of comedy, particularly in the second segment, but also the segment that ties them together, the mortuary stuff. There's a bunch of comedy there. You see the character John Carpenter's going for his wacky and crazy mortician, and it all really works and ties together. But that being said, if you're a slasher fan, you really do have to check out at least the first segment. If you're John Carpenter returning to slashers is just amazing. But they're all three pretty good. Obviously, ranking is The Gas Station, then I, then Hair. But they're all fairly good, and it's worth checking out, especially if you're a big 80s horror fan. This was a little bit hard to find. DVDs of it were actually kind of expensive. So really quick thank you to Scream Factory for re-releasing this, you know, uncut and everything, Blu-ray DVD combo pack. Really, really great, and it's also, I believe, streaming on Amazon Prime at the moment, but things come and go from there. So anyway, really good. I definitely recommend checking it out. I'm a big Carpenter and Craven, two of my favorite directors. I haven't reviewed too many of them on the channel, but that's mostly because I saw most of their movies before I started the channel. So I'm definitely wanting to do more of that stuff, either picking up the few movies I haven't seen yet or going back and rewatching my favorites. But I do want more Carpenter and Craven soon on this channel. Anyway, really quick, I'd like to thank everyone who's liked and subscribed. The channel's growing at a good rate, and I really want to thank you for that. I'll see you guys next time with more stuff. Have a good day.